Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Hoop State Network. We have a new show brought to you here today. It is called The OG and Me. I am me, Miles Masercola. This is the OG, Brian Clifton, head coach of Word of God Christian Academy and Dennis Smith Jr. Elite 17U team. Brian, tell the viewers about yourself.
I'm a lifelong basketball guy. I've had an opportunity to work with various players at different levels at different points of their career. I've seen there's a lot of great things that happen and that can be gleaned from being a part of this grassroots community, high school community, what have you. But there's also a very negative side of it that leads kids in the wrong direction and puts them in a position that they make bad decisions and the people around them make bad decisions. And I think the reality of life tends to set in, and oftentimes they're not prepared. So that's what we are.
Well, Brian and I are going to agree on some things. We're probably going to disagree on some things, but we appreciate you guys watching, and let's get right into the show. So the first topic of today's show, Jaylen Lecque. He is a former NC State commit. He is currently going through the NBA draft process, and we're going to talk about his process from being a prep standout to now possibly being drafted into the NBA. He's currently the 51st ranked prospect according to Draft Express, which is one of the leaders in the industry for evaluating draft prospects. Brian, you've coached against him, you've seen him in a lot of different settings. What are your thoughts on Lecque as a pro and kind of his process of getting there?
He's in a very different situation than a lot of prospects would be. He's one of the kids that I don't know that him going pro, the knee-jerk reaction would be he's not ready. What's he doing? But he's one of the kids that I think it's going to become more commonplace than not that if he went to college, I think that would kill about any chance that he really had of becoming a pro ever. I
would happen to agree with you on that. Do you think that he is going? This is kind of what I think. Do you think he's going now because this is the point where his stock is going to be the highest?
I think that's absolutely. If he has any type of influence with guys around him with any type of influence and insight in the league, they have to be sharing that with him. He's got so many. He's insanely gifted athletically, but there are not very many guys in the NBA that aren't. And when it comes down to it, you have to have much more than that. You take a kid who hasn't really been in a position that he's been pushed, that he's been forced to do the things that are outside his comfort zone, outside of his ability consistently, and then you put him into a world where they almost immediately neutralize the one asset that he has, and I think that's a recipe for disaster in terms of him becoming a pro.
You might agree with this too. I think that we're in a stage now where to a lot of people hype matters more than substance. And Jaylen Lecque is someone just based on his style of play is going to garner hype. We saw what he did in different events this past year. The fact that he can put it on anybody's head at any given moment is astounding and catches the eye of people on social media. He is currently ranked, like I said, the 51st prospect. If you don't get picked in the first round, that's not guaranteed money. Where do you see his career going from here? Because I frankly don't know if he has the skills, depending on how he develops, to last in the league as currently stated.
I think oftentimes it doesn't take away so much from a prospect if he's not quote unquote good enough or he doesn't have the skill level, because if you come with the right attitude, the guys they select, the NBA team select guys that they know they have to help, they have to work with, they have to develop. The thing of it is, I just don't know that he comes with that type of with that type of background that he'd be open to doing the things that he needs to do in order to be successful. I don't know that he has that in him. I don't know that he's ever had to have it in him. And for that reason, I see him being really a non-issue by the time he goes in. I think there's a little bit of hype around him. I think he gets drafted pretty low. He gets to a team and comes face to face with exactly how good the guys at the NBA level are, even the ones of the guys whose names that you don't know. I think he puts himself in that position, and I think 3 years from now, he's a prime candidate for where are they now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to leave it. So you have another situation that we saw with RJ Hampton, who announced this morning that he's going to play in New Zealand in the NBL, the Australian League, as opposed to going to college. If you're a prospect and you are evaluating that, what would your advice be to a prospect like that and how they should handle and navigate that whole situation?
I think with the league in Australia, I think the level of basketball is good, but there's not so many cultural hurdles to overcome
as
it
would
be.
English.
Absolutely. The weather there's not bad. There's a lot of pluses that go with that. And then I think with the system that they put into place in the NBL, it lends itself to being a more forgiving place for guys to go. I was a little bit nervous with Terrence Ferguson going down, and as to what would I know. Ray Forsett, Terrence's high school coach, and a lot of the people that were around him, I'm very familiar with this situation. And I was a little bit concerned as to what would come of him. But he went down there. I think he got to play some, but he didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. I think he was able to go and kind of keep his nose clean. There wasn't a lot for him to get into down there. And as you could see, him, I think going at that point allowed him to do the things that he needed to do to develop himself, and then he put himself in a professional basketball player's mindset, so that when he came back to the NBA, he's been able to wait his time, and I think he's more familiar now with not being coddled, not being catered to, and things of that nature. He's able to take those things with a grain of salt and build a career out of that.
I think the biggest misconception that people are going to get from this is that if you're just a very good high school basketball player that has a chance to play Division I basketball, that you can go overseas and make a living.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I agree with you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a problem that might come of this, where there are kids that aren't academically eligible and they have 4 or 5 D1 offers, and they think they can go overseas and make it.
Yeah, that will be a huge mistake. You're playing against professionals. These guys literally take care of themselves, their families. They playing the game of basketball, and they don't care anything about how many offers you had. They don't care anything about how many numbers your mixtapes are doing. They don't care anything about that. And the guys that own the teams, they don't care about that. Their thing is, we're going to bring you over and we're going to give you a chance to show us that you can help us win. If you can do that, then you're worth keeping around. If you're not, they have no regard for anything outside of that. The hype just doesn't help you there.
So, rude awakening for some kids that might think,
absolutely, yeah, without question.
Agree with you there. And that is a wrap on the debut episode of the OG and Me. Brian, I appreciate you coming on. This has been it's been a good conversation. I think that's going to help a lot of people out. And like we said, we appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to buy the t-shirts. Link is in the bio. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow everybody on social. And in the winter, come out and check a Word of God game and see this guy do what he does.
Come to all of them.
Come to all of them. Yeah. All right. We see you guys. Thank you.
The pressure be calling. Left on my blessings. I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression. It's all that I wanted. The phone in affection. I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems. I solve.